At this time, I would like to introduce our very special keynote speaker this morning, Rachel Flick. Rachel?
First of all, I just want to give a round of applause for this amazing, beautiful memorial. Will you join me? Our Flick family and other survivors had the pleasure of coming out on Monday at the ribbon cutting, and we were able to walk through and look at it during the day and then come back also at night. And if you haven't been here at night, I really recommend that you come out and see it because it has a very unique beauty. All around is lit by a thin blue line all the way around, and the plaques for the agencies that are represented and the people who have donated to make this possible. But I have to say that I think the piece de resistance of this memorial is the Lion of Lucerne. And I want to say thank you to Larry Terrafranca for creating this for us. I think he did a stunning job in creating the emotion on the lion's face, the tension in his paws, the flick of his tail, but I think that the most powerful thing when you look at him is his eyes, because the lion intentionally has been crafted, has been sculpted, that he has not yet died. And he has, in that moment of sacrifice and giving his life. And when I looked at him, I couldn't help but think of another lion that made a sacrifice for the life of another. Maybe you know the story from C.S. Lewis where he takes us into Aslan's story in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Anybody seen that one? So we start in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe with the Pevensey children. We have the big brother Peter and the big sister Susan. We have Edmund, who's a little bit of a prat. And then we have little sister Lucy, you know, who can get away with anything. Anybody in the birth order in their family can relate to that? And so the Pevensey children have been shipped off to a family friend in the country because it's World War II and London is being bombed. And so we step into their story. And one evening, as they are playing hide and seek, they step into the wardrobe, which happens to be a magical portal into another land. And so the first two people to make that transition are little sister Lucy and second brother Edmund. And while they are there, Edmund meets the witch. And the witch is a cunning, force of evil in the land of Narnia. And she seduces Edmund with Turkish delight, which I've only had once and I think it's terrible. I don't know if anybody else can relate to that, but I remember seeing that movie and thinking, that must be amazing, and then having it for the first time and being like, what is the big deal about this stuff? But anyway, so the queen, she seduces Edmund with sweets and then the offer of power. And so she says, go back and get your other siblings and bring them to me, and all of these things will be yours. So the next trip through the wardrobe, all of the children come through, but Edmund, in his, he's got a little bit of a black sheep complex, right? So he's kind of vulnerable to this seduction thing, and he thinks, I really like that Turkish delight, and the queen was super nice to me, so I'm sure she'll do it again. So he goes and he finds her without his other siblings. If you know the story, the queen wasn't exactly pleased to see him, right? She said, where are your other siblings and why did you come alone? And takes him as her prisoner. And so while his other three siblings are in Narnia and learning about the land of animals that speak and trees that live and mythical magical creatures, Edmund is betraying them and Aslan's army to the queen. And we fast forward through the scene where we have met this incredible lion named Aslan. And Aslan is an amazing leader. He's an incredible leader. And at the end of the movie, they say he's not a tame lion, but he is good. And he has power, and he has love, all wrapped up in that mighty roar. I loved watching, I rewatched the movie last night to refresh myself. And every time they show him releasing that roar and shaking that mighty mane, it just fills you with power. So the queen comes to Aslan and she says, you know the rules. You know what the law says about the traitor. His life is void, his blood belongs to me. And what does Aslan, this sacrificial leader, do? He goes and he makes a deal with the queen, his life for Edmund's. And so we transition to him walking up to the altar of his sacrifice, of him giving his life. And the queen is ecstatic. She thinks she has won, and she is ready to take over Narnia. And they bind him, and they beat him, and they strip him of his glorious mane. And then the queen whispers into his ear, you think that you have won. Narnia is mine tomorrow. And then she plunges that spear into his heart, just like the lion behind me. And your heart sinks, and you feel all of the reality of what he has given. And Susan and Lucy are watching. When all of the evil hordes clear out, they go to minister to his lost body. And I couldn't help but remember cradling Micah's head in the hospital and his lost body, and sitting with him after he was gone and recognizing the sacrifice and the love that he had shown for his fellow officers, for his community. And I know that I'm not the only one sitting here who has done that, who has cradled their lost loved one after they have given the ultimate sacrifice. I know that there are men and women sitting among me who watched their comrades die. And we sit in this point of time, in that place of pain, in the story of the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and our lives here today. And this memorial, while stunningly, achingly beautiful, is hauntingly painful at the same time, as it commemorates that moment when we lost our officers, our brothers, our friends, our husbands, our fathers. And in the story, the King Regent, Peter, who's like 13, he has to lead forward without Aslan because the queen is bringing the fight. She is not stepping back. She is not relenting. Evil does not relent. She presses forward to bring the war. And so the boy to be king must stand and put on armor that's a bit too big for him, with a sword that's a little too heavy for his arm. And he has the reality that his beloved Lion King is gone. And he must stand and he must lead the charge and he must meet the queen in the war. And I am standing here looking at men and women who have watched their beloved fall, and yet they must carry the charge. With the grief in your heart, with the reality of that loss, you still put on that uniform today. You still put on your badge, you picked up your gun, and you got in the fight. And I just want to say I see that in your heart, because that is courage. That is heroism. That is the same heroism in you that we see in these men and women commemorated in this granite. That heart beats in you. And I challenge all of you to keep up the good work, to continue the fight. But I want to say to you that the story isn't over. Because if you keep watching, Susan and Lucy get up to walk away from Aslan after their night of sitting with him in his lost, sacrificed body. And an earthquake comes, and Aslan disappears. And the girls turn around, and they're like, who has taken him? Where has he gone? And over the rise with the light of the shining sun, he arises alive. His mane is full, his strength is full, and he is back. And I want to say to you that we are living a piece of that story. Right now, we're in the place with the lion on the monument with the spear in his side. We haven't seen the end yet. When Aslan rises, the girls say, but we saw you dead. We stayed with your body. And he responds, if the witch knew the true meaning of sacrifice, she might have interpreted the deep magic differently. That when a willing victim, guilty of no treachery, is killed in a traitor's stead, the stone table will crack and even death itself will turn backwards. And I want to say to you that we have that same promise in the Lion of Judah, in the Lamb that was slain, that when we believe on the Lord Jesus Christ, we will be saved and we will see our loved ones in heaven. This isn't over. This isn't the end of the story. We do not grieve like people without hope, because we know that the Lord goes to prepare a place for us. And that's why we have courage to fight. That's why we have courage to put on the uniform, to put on the badge, and to go into the darkest places with the worst people on their worst day and fight. Is because this is not the end of the story. We are not finished. The true hero's heart lives. Romans 5, 7, and 8 says, very rarely will anyone die for a righteous person, though for a good person someone might possibly dare to die. And we have men and women etched on stone behind me who showed the greatest love, to lay down their life for a friend. Our husbands and wives and fathers and sons and friends and comrades were heroes of the highest kind. This place, it holds sadness. But as I have processed and prayed about this place, this is a monument to love. This is a monument to heroism. This is a place to come and remember that goodness of love. I know it's so easy to be cynical, and us most of all, the survivors most of all, because there were traitors who took our beloved's lives. But they have shown us the power of love in the human heart. Romans 5:8 says, but God demonstrates his own love for us in this, while we were sinners, Christ died for us. Just as Aslan died for Edmund the traitor, Christ died for us. And we have that life in us, the power of Christ. And that's what gives us strength to carry on. That's what gives us strength to stand and to fight. That's what gives us strength to heal and to see this beautiful place as a place of heroism and hope. Thank you.